If you're tired of these promos, supporters get the podcast early and ad-free. Just go to donate.bogosity.tv for the links to sign up. Welcome to the Bogosity podcast for the week of March 28, 2021, the podcast that invented glow-in-the-dark sunglasses. This is your host, Shane Killian. Let's triangulate the news of the bogus. The operations of New Hampshire radio hosts Free Talk Live have been raided again. Years ago, they were raided supposedly in conjunction with the FBI investigation into the Playpen website, and apparently nothing ever came from that. So it seems they're trying again, and this time they're using cryptocurrency as an excuse. Ian Freeman, primary host of Free Talk Live and chairman of the Shire Free Church, was arrested along with 5 others when FBI and IRS officers raided multiple premises in Keene, New Hampshire, seizing laptops and other computers and even a Bitcoin ATM. They were arrested because they allegedly, quote, willfully and knowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree with each other to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business. Funny how all along the IRS has been insisting that Bitcoin is a commodity and isn't money, but now selling Bitcoin is money transmitting. They also accuse the group now known as the Crypto Six of misleading financial institutions into believing that the Shire Free Church was, well, a church, when it was really an unlawful virtual currency exchange business. Freeman's business partner and co-host Mark Edge, who was not arrested, said that the charges were baseless and that the church's business was inextricably entwined with Bitcoin adoption. Quote, the government wants everyone warned. They don't want anyone doing things they can't benefit from. Edge said that the church obtained legal advice in 2017 regarding the status of its cryptocurrency operations and was told that it does not qualify as a money transmitter under state or federal law. Another who was arrested was co-host RIAA, a self-described transsexual Satanist anarchist. The group is accused of operating as the Reformed Satanic Church, in addition to the Shire Free Church, as well as the Church of the Invisible Hand. According to the indictment, the Crypto Six, quote, knowingly operated the virtual currency exchange business in violation of federal anti-money laundering laws and regulations, and, quote, with the intent to conceal and disguise the nature, location, source, ownership, and control of property believed to be the proceeds of specified unlawful activity. But according to Edge, the business complied with all required Know Your Customer stipulations. And even though it doesn't conceivably have anything to do with Bitcoin, they also seized 26 guns and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, which they made a big deal about in the news media. But none of those guns were illegal. And 1,000 rounds really isn't all that much. It's 66 reloads on a handgun, which is what you and your friends can easily do on a fun Saturday afternoon at the firing range. Bitcoin is computer code. It's a form of math. The government has basically declared math to be illegal. Moreover, Bitcoin transfers are communications of those mathematical functions and their results. They've just made it illegal to engage in freedom of speech when the content of the speech is math. If you're looking for ways to support this channel, but you don't have any spare cash and you can't stand advertisements, you can do so by generating your own cryptocurrency. Use the links at the bottom of the description to listen to the podcast and all of my videos on bittube.tv or lbry.tv to get cryptocurrency for the creator and yourself. Or if you listen to the podcast at the podcast page, you'll also generate crypto. You can also go to airtime.bogosity.tv to get the airtime extension and generate crypto for yourself and the creators on the web anywhere you go, including my YouTube channel. Get 5 tubes free just for installing the extension and signing up, and then simply browse the web as normal. Easily monetize your favorite creators and yourself with cryptocurrency without advertising on bittube.tv or lbry.tv or with the airtime extension at airtime.bogosity.tv. At a time when everyone is memeing about the inconvenient but hilarious blocking of the Suez Canal by a container ship, Other container ships are being blocked by bureaucracy, leaving them off the California coast trying to unload their cargo amidst all the COVID lockdowns. One of the first really big government screw-ups regarding the pandemic was locking down any non-essential businesses, not realizing that a lot of those were in the supply chain for what they were calling essential business. We also saw the limitations of the just-in-time strategy, encouraged by Keynesian economists and Federal Reserve policy, leaving no surpluses to get us through. Now, a year later, we're still seeing dozens of container ships anchored, sitting there, waiting for an opportunity to unload their cargo, which could be as many as 14,000 containers per ship. Businesses need this cargo, either as product to stock their shelves, or as capital goods needed to keep going. Those businesses have to answer to customers, and others further up the supply chain have to answer to those businesses. Generally, retailers are saying to expect an increased delay of 2 months in orders placed to factories in Asia. The ports at LA, Long Beach, and other West Coast cities are processing the cargo as quickly as they can, but as they do, more and more ships show up. A single ship might need 8,000 trucks to haul off its cargo. When dock workers have them loaded and sent off, they're generally sitting around waiting for more trucks to show up so they can unload the next one. Freight rail has also been affected. Ships now take a week to unload when it used to be just a couple of days. Goods that can no longer be produced domestically because of COVID restrictions are now having to be supplied from Asia, which is especially true because of all the businesses that have been permanently closed down as a result. Exacerbating the problem is the fact that manufacturers and retailers are placing larger orders so they can build up the inventory they didn't have when all this started. Labor shortages are also creating major issues, as lockdowns and distancing restrictions mean that businesses, especially factories, have to be run with much fewer workers. That's especially true of building, furniture, appliances, major electronics, and anything with a semiconductor chip, which these days is practically everything. Ford has even had to scale back production of the F-150 due to the shortage of semiconductors. And as usual, it hits smaller companies harder because they're less able to shift production to other countries that can ship to East Coast ports or be shipped entirely over ground. Bigger companies are also better able to afford air freight. Exporters are also taking a hit. When containers are unloaded, they're often sent back to Asia empty instead of filled with goods from the US. Understand, these supply bottlenecks are not happening because of COVID. They are happening because of government restrictions passed in the wake of COVID. Restrictions that do not make us safer, but that destroy businesses and even lives. If you're on the Wi-Fi in a coffee shop or hotel, anyone on that network can get your traffic. Do you really trust all of those strangers? For that matter, do you really trust your ISP? A VPN can protect you from prying eyes, disguise your location, and even foil government censors. It's essential in this day and age, so go to vpn.bogosity.tv and you'll be taken to BoxPN. Starting at just $2.99 a month, you can get unlimited high-speed connections to VPN servers all over the world, and they don't log connections, so your privacy is assured. Traveling abroad, just VPN home, and don't worry about what those other governments are doing. Back at home, stop your ISP from traffic shaping and messing with the quality internet access you're paying good money for. You can connect from multiple machines at once, including your smartphone or tablet, and it supports all the secure standards, including OpenVPN and SSTP. Bypass censors and surveillance with your own secure VPN connection. Go to vpn.bogosity.tv. And here's yet another freedom-hating decision from the continually problematic Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, where an en banc panel just ruled that the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms doesn't include the right to carry in public, openly or concealed. In other words, they've just removed the word bear out of the phrase keep and bear arms. The case is George Young Jr. v. Hawaii, where a Hawaii firearm licensing law is being challenged. The law states that residents seeking to openly carry a firearm must demonstrate urgency or need, even though it's the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Urgent Needs, be of good moral character, whatever that means, and be engaged in the protection of life and property, which apparently means anything except your life and property. The court specifically said, quote, There is no right to carry arms openly in public, nor is any such right within the scope of the Second Amendment. Except, for that pesky word bear. Apparently, they think the only people engaged in protecting life and property are cops and security guards. You don't get to defend yourself. Quote, "We can find no general right to carry arms into the public square for self-defense." Hey, idiots! Even if you don't understand what the word bear means in the Second Amendment, look at the 9th. The deluded morons ruled, "The power of the government to regulate carrying arms in the public square does not infringe in any way on the right of an individual to defend his home or business." Hey, numbskulls, where does it say home or business in the Second Amendment? And why would you get to defend your home or business, but not yourself? In confirming that slippery slope is not a fallacy, they ruled, "We have previously held that individuals do not have a Second Amendment right to carry concealed weapons in public. So restrictions on concealed weapons spilled over to open carry. Gee, who could have predicted that?" 3 judges wrote in a dissent, "The majority's suggestion that the values of federalism somehow preclude the Second Amendment from guaranteeing an individual right to carry arms for self-defense in the public square is fundamentally misguided. Hawaii's severe deprivation of the core right to carry a firearm in public can only be understood as amounting to a total destruction of such right." Which, of course, is exactly what they want. The 9th District decision doesn't just affect Hawaii, but Alaska, California, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and Montana. The standing Supreme Court precedent is the Heller decision. In Heller, the court found that interpretations of the Second Amendment should be governed by originalism as well as the historical evidence emphasizing the understanding of the text. Any regulations that don't have a clear analog in early American history would probably run afoul of the amendment. Young presented copious historical examples of open carry judgments, but apparently those don't count because they're largely from the South and slavery or something. Even though it's gun control that was designed to protect slavery, as we've covered many times. And that's actually why most of the cases are from the South. The idea of open carry just wasn't being threatened elsewhere. What you don't have is support for banning open carry, which is what they would need. The Heller decision is about judicial restraint, but the 9th Circuit apparently decided to just ignore that part of it. The Heller decision said that courts must judge with the side that intrudes less upon individual liberty. Any ambiguity should go to firearm owners, not government. But once again, judges are politicians in robes. Don't look to them to protect your rights, especially the 9th Circuit, where it's difficult to find an amendment of the Bill of Rights that they have supported. Do you have children, or nieces or nephews? Are you homeschooling, or just want to counter some of the socialist indoctrination most children get in school? If so, go to Bogosity.tv/TuttleTwins, and you'll be taken to a website where you can get some great books for elementary-age children. The Tuttle Twins books are books about liberty and free market economics that include children's versions of Bastiat's The Law, Leonard Read's I, Pencil, and Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, as well as books about the Federal Reserve and how regulations protect business cronies. They'll learn about the harm caused by eminent domain, or regulations passed in the name of safety, and fundamental concepts of liberty. And as you can see from the sample pages on the website, they're all easy to read and nicely illustrated. They're just $9.99 a piece, or get a special discount as well as free bonuses when you purchase all 5. You can even buy in bulk to donate to schools and local libraries. So get the Tuttle Twins books at Bogosity.tv/TuttleTwins. And now it's time to carnify this week's biggest Bogon emitter. So we've talked about Sci-Hub many times. This gift to the world, used by research scientists and students the world over, is condemned by publishers as the Pirate Bay of Science. Now, the City of London Police is acting on their behalf, warning students not to use the site because it's dangerous and encouraging universities to block the site. Sci-Hub is a series of websites offering free access to over 70 million published scientific papers, which comprises probably 80% of the world's currently published papers. The volume is something like 2.5 times the size of Wikipedia. Academic publishers see Sci-Hub as a threat to their multi-billion-dollar bottom lines and have tried to shut it down with lawsuits and basic underhanded deplatforming. But the site has only grown in popularity. More recently, new lawsuits have been filed en masse, and Sci-Hub has been banned from Twitter again. Now, the City of London Police's Intellectual Property Crime Unit is actively warning students against using Sci-Hub. Quote, Sci-Hub obtains the papers through a variety of malicious means, such as the use of phishing emails to trick university staff and students into divulging their login credentials. Sci-Hub then used this to compromise the university's network and download the research papers. They present precisely zero evidence for this accusation. This isn't the first time they've gotten involved in copyright cases. In the past, it's tried contacting domain registrars to get them to shut down the domains of pirate sites, with little success. Quote, with more students now studying from home and having more online lectures, it is vital universities prevent students accessing the stolen information on the university network. This will not only prevent the universities from having their own credentials stolen, but also those of their students and potentially the credentials of other members of the households if connected to the same internet provider. How is a student accessing Sci-Hub going to threaten the university's credentials? They also laughably claimed, by accessing Sci-Hub, users may inadvertently download potentially dangerous content from this illegal site and put the security of their organizations at risk. Again, they don't say how, and anyone who understands how this stuff works at all can see through it in an instant, but they still urge IT departments to block the sites. In fact, Sci-Hub doesn't ask for any credentials at all, so it's difficult to see how they could steal credentials from unwitting visitors. It's just like we saw earlier in our story about Bitcoin. When the moral argument fails, they have to try and bring cybercrime into it somehow. The warning was passed on by the BBC, completely uncritically, of course. But the academic world feels completely differently about Sci-Hub, as evidenced by the fact that new papers are published every month which include references in the form of Sci-Hub links. And not only that, many scientists are adding Sci-Hub DOI links to their own publications, including those appearing in well-respected peer-reviewed journals. Which kind of takes the air out of the warning from the London police. This would be the equivalent of a movie director passing around links to their movie on the Pirate Bay, which we actually did cover an example of when Richard Shankman posted the Man from Earth Holocene to the Pirate Bay. These Sci-Hub links even appear in publications from major publishers who are trying to shut the site down. That includes Elsevier, Springer, and John Wiley & Sons. Academic publishing would be nothing without references and citations. Sci-Hub absolutely plays a significant role here. In fact, a study published in Scientometrics, a Springer publication, found that, quote, articles downloaded from Sci-Hub were cited 1.72 times more than papers not downloaded from Sci-Hub, and that the number of downloads from Sci-Hub was a robust predictor of future citations. Among other characteristics of publications, the number of figures in a manuscript consistently predicts its future citations. The results suggest that limited access to publications may limit some scientific research from achieving its full impact. With all of that, it's hard to see how Sci-Hub is anything other than a benefit to science and a gift to the world. So then, who do you think the London police are protecting? The people? Science? Or their corporate masters? Yet more relics of a bygone era trying to cling to an obsolete business model. So all of that makes the City of London Police this week's biggest Bogon emitter. I want to tell you about the eyeglasses I've been wearing for years. As people can see on my videos, I have a very strong prescription, which makes glasses more expensive, especially when I need computer glasses, reading glasses, prescription sunglasses, and most expensively, progressive lenses for general everyday wear. To save money while still getting quality glasses, I get them from Firmoo. In fact, I just got a pair of progressives with high-index aspherical lenses and a nice pair of frames my wife loves for just over $100. It would have been $500 to get them through my eye doctor. Not only do they look good, the glasses are durable. I've worn many pairs for several years without problems. All orders come with a 30-day return policy, a 3-month warranty, and one-on-one customer service. Go to Firmoo, that's FIRMOO.Bogosity.tv anytime you need quality glasses at a low price. Once again, that's Firmoo.Bogosity.tv. And now let's isomerize this week's Idiot Extraordinaire! And we return to the RIAA and their bogus acts against stream rippers, this time the latest in their case against Yout, as we've covered in the past. Actually, I kinda said that backwards. After the RIAA tried to remove YouTube DL from GitHub, an attempt which ultimately failed, Yout decided to be proactive and get themselves declared legal, filing a complaint in a Connecticut court. They claimed that the RIAA's attempts to have them delisted from Google were wrongful and hurt its business. We covered how YouTube's rolling cipher isn't really a cipher at all. It's just a not-so-clever way of obfuscating the real link to a YouTube video. But the browser can easily derive it, as can anyone who knows the trick, with no technical expertise required other than how to delete a get variable from a URL. In their initial motion to dismiss, the RIAA said that just because Yout had figured out how to defeat the cipher, that doesn't mean that it wasn't a technological protection measure under Section 1201 of the DMCA. Yout countered that it doesn't decrypt, bypass, or avoid any measures, just uses the exact same technique the browser uses to get the video to begin with. It doesn't abuse the technology, it just uses it. Also, Yout claimed in order to be a Section 1201 violation, the RIAA must also indicate what specific works have been infringed, which they didn't do. The RIAA has now responded to Yout's counter, saying, quote, "Whether the Yout service circumvents turns on two questions. Whether the rolling cipher is an effective TPM, it isn't. And whether the Yout service circumvents that TPM, it doesn't. While plaintiff tries to confuse the issues. Confession through projection. The controlling legal standards and the complaint's own allegations make clear that the answer to both questions is yes. Yeah, except it isn't." They also said that in order to judge whether or not something is a TPM, you have to look at it from the, quote, level of the ordinary consumer. By that logic, changing a flat tire is a TPM since that seems beyond the ability of many nowadays. And in a bewilderingly stupid argument, they said, quote, "The very existence of the Yout service shows that the rolling cipher is effective from the level of ordinary consumers. If the rolling cipher were not effective, plaintiffs' customers would have no need for the Yout service in the first place." Well, that's a bit like saying there's no need for dictation software since people can type. Quote, "When using an ordinary web browser as intended, a YouTube user can only receive a stream of the sound recording through the YouTube video player. The user is not granted access to the location of the digital file and cannot download it." How do you think the browser plays the video to begin with? It downloads the video. It has to. To get around this protection, the Yout service interprets the JavaScript program sent by YouTube and derives the signature value to access the protected file, and so the user can copy the audio stream as an MP3 file. Which, again, is exactly what the browser does. It interprets the JavaScript and derives the value. Are they really this stupid, or do they just hope the judge is? Or do they think they have the judge in their back pocket and so they just need to give him plausible sounding cover? So all of that makes the RIAA this week's Idiot Extraordinaire! Well, that wraps up this Standing on the Landing May Be a Great Song title, but to me it's just a tax loss edition of the Bogosity podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go to donate.bogosity.tv for several ways to support and discord.bogosity.tv to join the discussion. Subscribe at Patreon or Subscribestar, and you can listen early and ad-free. Thank you for listening. Until next time, here's a quote from Carl Menger. "Money is not an invention of the state. It is not the product of a legislative act. Even the sanction of political authority is not necessary for its existence. Certain commodities came to be money quite naturally as the result of economic relationships that were independent of the power of the state. The Bogosity podcast is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License.
Bogosity.
We live in a world where light bulbs connect to the internet, and recent attacks on them prove that your online security is under threat like never before. Not only your websites, but the internet-enabled devices you buy. And the biggest problem is weak passwords. That's why you need LastPass. LastPass allows you to randomly generate strong, unique passwords on the web and on your internet-enabled devices, all protected by one master password. LastPass sets up in minutes and gives you secure automatic logins throughout the web, synchronizing across all your browsers, all your computers, and even your mobile devices, at home, at work, or on the road. It even securely stores sensitive form data, including credit card numbers, backup sensitive documents, software licenses, Wi-Fi logins, and more. And with LastPass Premium, you can get these benefits on other applications, manage passwords for your entire family, and also get priority customer support. Sign up at password.bogosity.tv for a free month of LastPass Premium. Log in securely everywhere using the last password you'll ever have to remember. Go to password.bogosity.tv and get LastPass now.